There were some big coffee announcements at Host Milano this year, 2023. Now, Host is largely focused on commercial stuff, but there was some exciting stuff for home baristas as well. So for my seat, these were the top 10 announcements from Host Milano 2023 for home baristas. Number 10, the Varia VS6. Now, the Varia VS3 came onto the market a couple of years ago, really trying to disrupt that single dosing market that had been kind of created by the Niche Zero. Now, I messaged Varia to try and get some more details on the VS6, and they were basically radio silence on this one, but it is a larger grinder with, from what I could tell, it looked like a blind 58mm burr under development. Number 9, the Rocket Bicocca. Now, this is a high-end espresso machine from Rocket, coming in probably somewhere in between the R9 and the R58, a lot of people are saying. It also comes with a group head with a little screen on it that is somewhere between a saturated and actively heated, it looks like, group head. And very interesting, if you'll notice, no pressure gauge at all on this machine. They've kind of moved that, it looks like, to a screen. So let me know what you think about that. Number 8, the FNAO Sense. Now, if there's one thing that's been missing from home hopper style grinders, it's grind by weight technology. And you see FNAO bringing that in with this grinder. It's got an integrated scale under the portafilter, so you just dial in 18 grams, 20 grams, whatever you want. You press start and the grinder will dispense exactly that amount into your portafilter. No more trying to guess with timing. It's a fantastic development for home users. Very excited to see that. Which brings me to number 7, the FNAO All-Ground Pro Brew. Now, in this grinder, FNAO is bringing the Pro Brew burrs that are in the Pietro into a grinder with a single dosing package tuned for filter. Very exciting. Next up, we have number 6, the Victoria Arduino Eagle One Prima Pro version. This is a successor to the already very successful Eagle One Prima version with some new app-driven features, some new attachments for what looks like, I don't know, is that a pour-over attachment or is that a tea attachment? Extra programmability, a new screen up here on the group head, and again, an increased reliance on apps. Let me know what you think of that. Now, again, very interesting, you'll notice no pressure gauge on the front of this machine. Second machine we've seen that trend on so far, and this may be a deal breaker for some. For now, this machine is plumb in only. But maybe the most exciting announcement from Victoria Arduino is that their app for the Eagle One Prima is finally back online after being down for about 2 months. Number 5, Eureka Everything. It seemed like Eureka showed up with a whole truckload of refreshed grinders, new displays, new configurations, but most of all, they showed up with a couple of espresso machines. Now, I did not see this coming from Eureka, but it is a very exciting development. And again, you'll notice no pressure gauge on the front of this machine. Is this the biggest announcement from Host? Did they like outlaw all the pressure gauges on the espresso machines? I don't know. Let's keep going. Number 4. This was one of the most exciting announcements for me, and it could easily have slipped under the radar for you, and it is the Marzocco and Aaya brew by weight system. Now, this is a system that's going to pair an Aaya Lunar with a Marzocco Linea Mini and do a brew by weight. So you don't actually need to, manually shut the pump off like you have had to with the Lineas. Instead, you just set your dose ahead of time, turn the pump on and let it run, go about your business, and it's going to use some algorithmic magic to kill your espresso shot so that it dispenses exactly the right dose every time. This was a big one from Marzocco and Aaya. Now, one big downside, as of right now, Marzocco has said they are not going to implement this tech in the Micra. I hope they change that. And this does not work with existing lunar scales. You have to buy a special edition one for $400. Yikes. Number 3, the Malcone EK Omnia. Now, if there was an event at Host Milano 2023, it was probably this reveal. Number 1, right from its first impression, this again is a tech-heavy grinder. You see that screen on the front, and right on there you can see the grind setting, not in some kind of dial, but in a precise measurement of microns, the actual distance that the burrs are apart. Now, this is very fun and very exciting exciting. Who's to say exactly how accurate that is? But I like to see that development from Malcone. Now the grinder has 3 modes. Classic mode, which operates very much like a regular EK43. It's got timed mode, which is going to use they call it volumetric feed from the hopper, but really it's a timed feed to dispense a specific amount of beans to be ground up. And the third mode is library mode, where you can program specific coffees and have it recall that grind setting automatically. Now, this is for sure a 100% commercial grinder, but I'm just gonna say, once they release an S version, you're gonna see some people start to put these things in their homes. Number 2, the Mazzer Felos grinder. Now, this is a brand new single dosing 64mm home grinder from Mazzer. This was a very fun one for me because Mazzer is a legendary name in coffee grinders in the commercial space. And you saw their burrs become popular for home users largely through the niche grinder, the Zero, and then the Duo. But this is the first tuned for home single dosing grinder from Mazzer. And I love to see this because it shows that they are listening to what the home market wants. Now, one controversial feature that I've seen a bunch of people pointing out, the adjustment is on the back. Of course, Mazzer is saying that that's easy to adjust when you're standing in front of the grinder, but what made me most excited about this announcement was the burrs that you can see in this grinder. Now, these look very different from any other Mazzer burr that I've seen. Instead, they look extremely familiar to the SSP 64mm multi-purpose burrs, which are kind of a legendary burr for filter coffee and kind of very modern style espresso. This burr is still not on the Mazzer website, but it shows that, again, they are listening to the market and modern trends of what people are looking for in espresso at home, and they're delivering. Which brings me to number 1. And I'm sure some of you are going to roll your eyes at what I picked for my number 1 from Host Milano 2023, the Marzocco Strada X1. Now, the Strada line is typically commercial. They are releasing a version for home that costs $20,000. Now, that is an absurd amount, and I don't think anybody thinks that Marzocco is going to sell a ton of these machines. What makes this very exciting for me is the technology that they are deploying in this machine that we are going to see start to trickle down into their other models over time. Number 1, you're seeing smart pre-infusion. Now, this is not timed pre-infusion that you would normally see in machines, or manual pre-infusion where you kind of have to watch to see if your puck is pre-infused or not. This uses flow profiling to determine when the puck is fully pre-infused totally automatically, and then it will kick in the full pressure for your espresso shot. It's also got a full manual mode where you can control it with the paddle, a pressure profile mode where you can do pressure profiling, and AV modes where you can just run a straight pre-programmed pull. But what's really neat is it integrates something called mass-based profiling, where it's using an integrated scale in the drip tray to kind of work together in concert with the volumetric flow meter to determine when your cup is going to have the right amount of coffee in it. So no matter how complex of a flow profiling setup you're running, it will always dispense the right amount of coffee without you needing to worry. It really amps up what you can do in terms of both flexibility of flow profiling and consistency in terms of the end result. It's going to use a lot of algorithmics and software to make all those things happen kind of behind the scenes, which is something that I love because it translates into better and more consistent coffee for home baristas. Now, as I said, the price point on this machine is rather extreme, but I'm sure that we're going to start to see some of these features in their other machines down the line. Very exciting. Now, I don't know what world we would have to be in for me to review that machine. I'm sure it will probably never happen, but I want to hear from you. Out of my top 10, what do you want to see me review on this channel? Now, if it's going to happen soon, those are probably going to be pre-production models straight from the manufacturer, but you never know. Let me know in the comments if you were at Host Milano and you saw something that I missed or should have included. Make sure to drop it down below, and we'll see you next time.